Chapter 17. Addie, Monday, October 15th, 12:15 p.m. Sexism is still alive and well in the true crime coverage because Bronwyn and I aren't nearly as popular with the general public as Cooper and Nate, especially Nate. All the twin girls posting about us on social media love him, and they couldn't care less that he's a convicted drug dealer because he's got dreamy eyes. Same goes for school. Brown and I are pariahs. Other than her friends, her sister, and Janae, hardly anyone talks to us. They're just whispering behind our backs. But Cooper's as golden ever. And Nate, well, it's not like Nate was ever popular, exactly. He's never seemed to care what people think about him, though, and he still doesn't. Seriously, Addie, stop pulling this stuff up. I don't want to see it. Ron rolls her eyes at me. She doesn't really look mad. I guess we're almost friends now. Or as friends as you can get when you're not 100% sure the other person isn't framing you for murder. She won't play along with my obsessive need to track her news stories, though. I don't show her everything, especially not the horrible commenters tossing racial slurs at her family. That's an extra layer of suck she doesn't need. Instead, I showed Janae one of the more positive articles I found. Look, the much better article on BuzzFeed is Cooper leaving the gym. Janae looks awful. She lost more weight since I first ran into her in the bathroom. She's jumpier than ever. I'm not sure why she eats lunch with us, since most of the time she doesn't say a word, but she glances gamely at the phone. It's a good picture of him, I guess. Kate shoots me a severe look. Will you put that away? I do, but in my head I'm giving her the finger the whole time. Yumiko's all right, but Kate almost makes me miss Vanessa. No, that's a complete and utter lie. I hate Vanessa. Hate how she's mean-girled her way into the center of my former group and how she's glooming onto Jake like they're a couple, even though I don't see much interest on his part. Chopping my hair off was like giving up on Jake, since he wouldn't have noticed me 3 years ago without it. Just because I've abandoned hope doesn't mean I've stopped paying attention. After lunch I head for science, settling myself on a bench next to the lab partner who barely glances in my direction. Don't get too comfortable, Miss Mario warns. We're mixing things up today. You'll only get partners for a while, so let's rotate. She gives us complicated directions. Some people move left, others move right, and the rest of us stay still. I don't pay much attention to the process until I wind up next to TJ. His nose looks a lot better, and I doubt it'll ever be straight again. He gives me the sheepish half smile as he pulls a tray of rocks in front of us closer. Sorry, this is probably your worst nightmare, right? Don't flatter yourself, TJ, I think. He's got nothing on my nightmares. All those months of angsty guilt about sleeping with him in his beach house seems like they've happened in another lifetime. It's fine. We classify rocks in science until TJ says, I like your hair. I snort. Yeah, right. With the possible exception of Ashton, whose bias, nobody likes my hair. My mother was appalled. My former friends laughed openly when they saw me the next day. Even Keely smirked. She's moved right on to Lewis, like if she can't have Cooper, she'll settle for his catcher instead. Lewis dumped Olivia for her, but nobody blinked an eye about that. I'm serious. You can finally see your face. You look like a blonde Emma Watson. That's false, but I've something to say, I guess. I hold a rock between my thumb and forefinger and squint at it. What do you think? Ignorance or sedimentary? TJ shrugs. I can't tell the difference. I take a guess and sort the rock into the igneous pile. TJ, if I can manage to care about rocks, I'm pretty sure you can put in more effort. He blinks at me in surprise, then grins. There you are. What? Everyone seems absorbed in the rocks, but as he lowers his voice anyways. You were really funny when we, that first time we hung out on the beach. When I tell you after that you were so passive, always agreeing with whatever Jake said. I glore at the tray in front of me. That's a rude thing to say. TJ's voice is mild. Sorry, but I could never figure out why. You'd fade into the background that way. You were a lot of fun. He catches my glare and adds hastily. Not like that. Or, well, yes, like that. But also, you know what? Never mind. I'll stop talking right now. Great idea. I mutter, scooping up a handful of rocks and dumping them in front of him. Sort these, would you? It's not that TJ's fade into the background comment stings. I know it's true. I can't wrap my head around the rest, though. Nobody's ever said I'm funny before. Or fun. I always figured TJ was still talking to me because he wouldn't actually mind getting me alone again. I never thought he might have actually enjoyed hanging out during the non-physical part of the day. We finished the rest of class in silence except to agree or disagree on rock classifications. When the bell rings, I grab my backpack and head for the hall without a backward look, until the voice behind me stops like I've slammed into an invisible wall. Addie? My shoulders tense and I turn. I haven't tried talking to Jake since he blew me off at his locker. I'm afraid what he's going to say to me. How have you been? He asks. I almost laugh. Oh, not good. I can't read Jake's expression. He doesn't look mad. He's not smiling either. He seems different somehow. Older? Not exactly, but less boyish, maybe? He's been staring right through me for almost 2 weeks, and I don't understand why I'm suddenly visible again. Things must be getting intense, he says. Cooper slowly climbed up. Do you? He hesitates, shifting his back from one shoulder to the other. Do you want to talk sometime? My throat feels like I swallowed something sharp. Do I? Jake waits for an answer, and I mentally shake myself. Of course I do. That's all I've wanted since this happened. Yes. Okay, maybe this afternoon I'll text you. He holds my gaze, still not smiling, he adds, God, I can't get used to your hair. You don't even look like yourself. I'm about to say I know when I remembered TJ's words. You were so passive, always agreeing with Jake or agreeing with whatever Jake said. Well, I am, I say instead and take off down the hall before he can break eye contact first. Nate, Monday, October 15th, 3:15 p.m. Bronwyn settles herself on the rock next to me, smoothing her skirt over her knees and looking over the treetops in front of us. Have you ever been to Marshall Peaks before? She says. I'm not surprised. Marshall's Peak, which really isn't a peak, more of a rocky outcropping overlooking the woods we cut through on our way out of school. It's Bayview's so-called scenic area. It's also a popular spot for drinking, drugs, and hookups, although not at 3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. I'm pretty sure Brown has no idea what happens here on weekends. Hope reality lives up to the hype, I say. She smiles. Beats getting ambushed by Mikhail Power's crew. We had another sneak out the back routine when they showed up at the front of the school today. I'm surprised they haven't wised up to stop staking out the woods yet. Driving to the mall again seemed like a bad idea, given how high our profile's risen over the past week. So here we are. Bronwyn's eyes are down, watching a line of ants carry a leaf across the rocks next to us. She licks her lips like she's nervous, and I shift a little closer. Most of my time with her is spent on the phone, and I can't tell what she's thinking in person. I called Eli Kefler, she says, from Until Proven. Oh, that's what she's thinking. I shift back. Okay. It was an interesting conversation, she says. He was nice about hearing from me. He didn't seem surprised at all. He promised he wouldn't tell anybody I called him. For all her brains, Bronwyn can be like a little kid sometimes. What's that worth? I asked. He's not your lawyer. He can talk to Mikhail Powers about you if he wants more airtime. He won't, Bronwyn says calmly. And she just got it all figured out. Anyways, I didn't tell him anything. We didn't talk about me at all. I just asked him what he thought about the investigation so far. And? Well, he repeated some of what he said on TV, that he was surprised that there weren't more talk about Simon. Eli thought anyone who'd run the kind of app Simon did for as long as he did would have made plenty of enemies who'd love to use the four of us as scapegoats. He said he'd check into some of the most damaging stories, like the kits they covered, and he'd look into Simon generally, like Maeve's doing with the 4chan stuff. The best defense is a good offense? I ask. Right. He also said our lawyers aren't doing enough to pick apart the theory that nobody else could have poisoned Simon. Mr. Avery, for one. A note of pride creeps into her voice. Eli said the exact same thing I did, that Mr. Avery had the best opportunity of anyone to plant the phones and doctor the cups, but other than questioning him a few times, the police were mostly leaving him alone. I shrug. What's his motive? Technophobia, Brown says, and glares at me when I laugh. It's a thing! Anyways, that was just one idea. Eli also mentioned the car accident as a time when everybody was distracted and somebody could have slipped into the room. I frown at her. We weren't at the window that long. We would have heard a door open. Would we? Maybe not. His point is, it's possible. And he said something else interesting. Ron picks up a small rock and juggles it meditatively in her hand. He said he'd look into the car accident. The timing was suspect. Meaning? Well, it goes back to his earlier point that somebody could have opened the door while we were watching the cars. Somebody who knew what was going to happen. He thinks this car accident was planned? I stare at her, and she avoids my gaze, and she heaves her rock over the trees beneath us. So you're suggesting somebody engineered a fender bender in the parking lot so they could distract us, slip into detention, dump peanut oil into Simon's cup that they couldn't possibly have known he had if they weren't already in the room, then leave Simon's cup lying around because they're stupid? It's not stupid if they're trying to frame us, Bronwyn points out. But it would be stupid for one of us to leave it there instead of finding a way to get rid of it. Chances were good nobody would have searched us right after. Still doesn't explain how anybody outside the room would know Simon had a cup of water in the first place. Well, it's like the Tumblr post said. Simon was always drinking water, wasn't he? They could have been outside the door watching through the window. That's what Eli says anyways. Oh, well, if Eli says so. I'm not sure why legal god in Bronwyn's eyes. He can't be more than 25. Sounds like he's full of dipshit theories. I'm getting ready for an argument, but Bronwyn doesn't take the bait. Maybe, she says, tracing her fingers over the rock between us. But I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I don't think it was anybody in that room, Nate. I really don't. I've gotten to know Addie a little bit this week. She raises a palm at my skeptical look. I'm not saying I'm suddenly an Addie expert or anything, but I honestly can't picture doing anything to Simon. What about Cooper? Guy's definitely hiding something. Cooper's not a killer. Bronwyn sounds positive, and for some reason that pisses me off. You know this. How? Because you guys are so close? Face it, Bronwyn, none of us really know each other. Hell, you could have done it. You're smart enough to plant something this messed up and get away with it. I'm kidding, but Bronwyn goes rigid. How can you say that? Her cheek gets red, giving her that flushed look that always unsettles me. She'll surprise you one day how pretty she is. My mother used to say that about Bronwyn. My mother was wrong, though. There's nothing surprising about it. He left at it himself, right? I say. Anything's possible. Maybe you brought me here to shove me down the hill and break my neck. You brought me here, Bronwyn points out, and her eyes widen, and I laugh. Oh, come on. You don't actually think... Bronwyn, we're barely on an incline. Pushing you off this rock isn't much of an evil plan. If all you do, you twist your ankle. It's not funny, Bronwyn says, but a smile twitches at her lips. The afternoon sun is making her glow, putting glints of gold in her dark hair, and for a second, I almost can't breathe. Jesus, this girl. I stand her hold my hand. She gives me a skeptical look, but takes it and lets me pull her to her feet and put my other hand in the air. Bronwyn Rojas, I solemnly swear to not murder you today or at any point in the future. Deal? You're ridiculous, she mutters, going even redder. It concerns me that you're avoiding a promise to not murder me. She rolls her eyes. Do you say that to all the girls you bring here? Huh, maybe she knows Marshall's peaked reputation after all. I move closer until there's only a couple inches between us. You're still not answering the question. Bronwyn leans forward and brings her lips to my ear. She's so close I can feel her heart beating when she whispers, I promise to not murder you. That's hot. I mean it as a joke. My voice comes out like a growl. When her lips part, I kiss her before she can laugh. A shock of energy shoots through me as I cup her face in my hands, my fingers grasping at her cheeks and the line of her jaw. It must be the adrenaline that's making my heart pound so fast. The whole nobody else could possibly understand this bond, or maybe it's her soft lips and the green apple-scented hair, and the way she winds her arm around my neck like she can't stand to let go. Either way, I keep gazing her as long as she lets me. She steps away. I try to pull her back because it wasn't enough. Nate, my phone, she says, and for the first time I noticed a persistent, jangly tone. It's my sister. She can wait. I say, tangling a hand in her hair and kissing along her jawline to her neck. She shivers against me and makes a little noise in her throat, which I like. It's just... She runs her fingertips across the back of my neck. She won't keep texting if it weren't important. Maeve's our excuse. She and Rowan are supposed to be at Yumiko's house together, and I reluctantly step back so Bronwyn can reach down and dig her phone out of her backpack. She looks up at the screen and draws in a quick, sharp breath. Oh my god, Mom's trying to reach me too. Robin says the police want me to come to the station to, quote, follow up on a couple of things, unquote. Probably the same bullshit. It manages to sound calm even though it's not how I feel. Did they call you? She asks. She still looks like she hopes they did and hates herself for it. I didn't hear my phone, but I pull it out of my pocket to check anyway. No. She nods and starts firing off texts. Should I have Maeve pick me up here? I have her meet her at my house. It's halfway between here and the station. As soon as I say it, I kind of regret it. I still don't want Bronwyn anywhere near my house when it's light out. It's the most convenient option when we don't have to go inside. Bronwyn bites her lip. What if the reporters are there? They won't be. They figured out that no one's ever around. She looks worried still, so I add, look, we can park my neighbors and walk over. If anyone's there, I'll take you someplace else, but trust me, it'll be fine. Bronwyn texts Maeve my address, and we walk to the edge of the woods where I left my bike. I help her with the helmet, and she climbs behind me, wrapping her arms around my waist as I start the engine. I drive slowly down the narrow, twisty side roads until we reach my street. My neighbor's rusted Corvette sits in her driveway in the exact same spot it has been for the past 5 years. I park next to her and wait for Bronwyn to dismount and take her hand as we walk through the neighbor's yard to mine. As we get closer, I see her house with Bronwyn's eyes, and I wish I'd bothered to mow the lawn at some point in the last year. She stops suddenly in her tracks and lets out a gasp, but she's not looking at her knee-length grass. Nate, there's someone at your door. I stop too and scan the street for news vans. There isn't one, just a beat-up Kia parked in front of our house. Maybe they're getting better at camouflage. Stay here, I told Bronwyn, but she's coming with me as I get close to my driveway for a better look. And who's ever at the door? It's not a reporter. My throat goes dry and my head starts to throb. The woman pressing the bell turns around and her mouth falls open a little when she sees me. Bronwyn goes still behind me, her hand dropping from mine. I keep walking without her. I'm surprised how normal my voice sounds when I speak. What's up, Mom?